Hi friend, this is Bliss Note, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm very sleepy, but also really excited to read you this story. There might be a few yawns. I'm just so sleepy, but that's all the better because, for me at least, being around other sleepy people usually helps me feel sleepy too. Hopefully it inspires you to feel sleepy. This is The Snowdrop by Hans Christian Andersen. And for just a little context, a snowdrop is a flower that blooms in late winter. Alright, let's get started. It was late winter time. The air was cold and the wind was sharp, but indoors all was snug and well. Therein laid the flower and its bulb under earth and snow. I'm so sleepy. Alright. One day, the rain fell. The drops trickled down through the snow blanket, down into the earth, and stirred against the bulb, telling it of the world of light up above. Soon, a sunbeam so slender and penetrating bored through the snow, down to the bulb, and tapped on it, and knocked. "Come in," said the flower. "I cannot," said the sunbeam. "I am not strong enough to unlock the door. When the summer comes, I shall be strong." "When will it be summer?" asked the flower, and she repeated this question each time a new sunbeam made its way down to her. I'm so sleepy. But the summer was yet far distant. The snow still lay upon the ground, and there was a coat of ice on the water every night. "What a long time it takes," said the flower. "I feel a stirring and striving within me. I must stretch myself. I must unlock the door. I must get out and must nod a good morning to the summer. And what a happy time that will be." Sorry, friend. I'm just so sleepy. Okay. And so the flower stirred and stretched within the thin rind, which the water had softened from without, and the snow and the earth had warmed, and the sunbeam had knocked at, and it shot forth under the snow with a greenish-white blossom on a green stalk, and with narrow thick leaves, which seemed to want to protect it. The snow was cold, but was pierced by the sunbeam, therefore it was easy to get through. And now the sunbeam came with greater strength than before. "Welcome, welcome," sang every ray, and the flower lifted itself up over the snow into the brighter world. The sunbeams caressed and kissed it, so that it opened altogether, white as snow and ornamented with green stripes. It bent its head in joy and humility. I'm so sleepy, my eyes are watering with every yawn I take. Are you sleepy yet? Oh, maybe my yawns have made you yawn once or twice. Okay, alright. "Beautiful flower," said the sunbeam. "How graceful and how delicate you are. You are the first, you are the only one. You are our love. You are the bell that rings out for summer. Beautiful summer, over country and town. All the snow will melt, the cold winds will be driven away, all will become green. And then you will have companion flowers, syringas, laburnums, and roses. But you are the first, so graceful and so delicate. Okay, friend. To the flower, that was a great pleasure. It seemed as if the air were singing and sounding, as if rays of light were piercing through the leaves and the stalks of the flower. There it stood, so delicate and so easily broken, and yet so strong in its vibrant beauty. It stood there in its white dress with green stripes and made a summer. But there was a long time yet to summertime. Clouds hid the sun, and bleak winds were blowing. Okay. You have come too early, said wind and weather. We have still the power, and you shall feel it, and give it up to us. You should have stayed quiet at home, and not have run out to make such a display of yourself. Your time is not come yet. It was cutting cold. Days which now come brought not a single sunbeam. It was weather that might break such a little flower into two with cold. But the flower had more strength than she herself knew of. She was strong in joy and faith in summer, which would be sure to soon come, which had been announced by her deep longing and confirmed by the warm sunlight. And so she remained, standing in confidence in the snow, in her white garment, bending her head, even while the snowflakes fell thick and heavy and the icy winds swept over her. You'll break, they said. Wither, freeze. What did you want out here? Why did you let yourself be enticed? The sunbeam has hoaxed you. Now make the best of it, you Snowdrop, summer fool. Snowdrop, summer fool, repeated the flower, there in the cold morning. Snowdrop, rejoiced children who came into the garden. There stands one so sweet, so beautiful, the first, the only one. These words did the flower so much good. They seemed to her like warm sunbeams. In her joy, the flower did not even feel like it was broken off. It lay in a child's hand, and was kissed by a child's mouth, and carried into a warm room, and looked on by gentle eyes, and put into water. How strengthening, how invigorating, the flower thought. She had suddenly come upon summer. The daughter of the house was a lovely girl. She had a dear boyfriend who was studying to equip himself for earning a living. He shall be my flower, she told herself. Then she took the lovely flower and laid it on a scented piece of paper that had a verse written on it, a verse about the flower, beginning with Snowdrop and ending with Snowdrop. Little sweetheart, be my Snowdrop, my winter fool. Thus she had playfully mocked him with the summer. Yes, that was written in the verses, and it was then folded up like a letter with the flower placed inside. It was dark there where it lay, as dark as it had been in the bulb. The flower was sent on a journey. It lay in a mail sack, was pressed and squeezed, and that was not at all pleasant. I'm so sleepy. Alright. But finally, it all came to an end. The journey was over, the letter was opened, and read by the dear friend. How pleased he was. He kissed the letter, and it was laid, with its enclosure of verses, in a box, in which there were many beautiful verses, but all of them without flowers. She was the first, the only one, as the sunbeams had called her, and it was pleasant to think about. The Snowdrop had more time to think about it. She thought of it while the summer passed away, and the long winter went by. And the summer came again, before she appeared once more. But now the young man was not pleased at all. He took hold of the letter very roughly and threw the verses away, so that the flower fell on the ground. Flat and faded she certainly was, but why should she be thrown on the ground? Still, it was better to be here than in the fire, where the verses and the paper were being burnt to ashes. What had happened? What happened so often? The flower had made a fool of him. That was a jest. The girl had made a fool of him. That was no jest. She had, during the summer, chosen another friend. In the morning, the sun shone in on the little flattened snowdrop, which looked as if it were painted on the floor. The maid who swept the room picked it up and placed it in one of the books on the table, for she thought it had fallen out when she was clearing up and putting things in order. And so once again the flower lay between verses, printed verses this time. Years passed, throughout which the book stood on its shelf, but now at last it was taken down, opened, and read. It was a good book, the songs and poems of the Danish poet Abrosius Stopp. The man who was reading the book turned a page. "Ah, here's a flower," he said. "A snowdrop. It is with significance, indeed, that it lies here." Poor Ambrosius Stopp. He was a snowdrop too. A poet snowdrop. He was before his time, and therefore he had to face sharp winds and sleet as he passed among gentlemen of Funen. He was like a flower in a water glass, a flower in a valentine, a summer fool, winter fool, full of fun and drollery. And yet he was the first, the only youthfully fresh Danish poet. Yes, lie there as a marker in his books, little snowdrop. You are laid here with meaning. And the snowdrop again was placed in the book, and felt both honored and delighted. To know that it was a marker in the beautiful book of poetry, and that he who had first written and sung about the flower had also been a snowdrop and been mocked in the winter. Now the flower understood in its own way, just as we understand things in our way. This is the fairy story of the snowdrop. Thanks, friend. I hope you're blissfully asleep. This is Bliss Note. I hope to see you next time.